Hey everybody, this is my 40 breeder. Got a Crenocycla regani in here as my feature fish, although she's hiding this morning. I have seen her, I know she's in there, I know she's doing okay. The last video I shot we did not see her either and I was a little concerned. So I've been paying a little bit of attention to this tank, and I did see her last night, but I also saw something that raised a little bit of concern with me, and I want to get in here and make some adjustments to this tank today, so we're going to shoot some video and talk about it. The first thing I want to talk about, however, is a problem that I had when I was very new to fish keeping. It baffled me. I didn't understand what was happening or why it was happening or where it was coming from. And of course my regular viewers will know that I always sort of gear my videos towards the inexperienced fish keeper that might be seeing things for the first time or encountering problems they've never seen before. And one of the things that always baffled me early on in the hobby was, where does that come from? Where does this biofilm that you get on the surface of your tank come from? You can see over here it actually is starting, well, it's not really coming out on camera, but you can kind of see the ripples and lines in it as the surface current is causing it to bunch up on itself. Let me dip my finger in there a little bit. You can see how you can break it up just by running your finger through there. So that's not bad in the sense that it's some problem with your tank. It is a natural process that's just called biofilm. Some people will call it surface oils. I don't know precisely where it comes from, but something to do with the biological processes that happen in the tank. I mean, if you think about, I know that fish are very different than us, but we have oils. Oh, there's my Crenocycla right down there in the front center, kind of hiding in the bushes. You see her moving through there. You know, most animals will produce sebum if they've got hair. You know, the oils that we develop that keep our hair healthy, and oils on our skin. So presumably, you know, plants that produce oils and waxes and stuff like that. I have no idea what the fish's bodies produce, but all in all, it's a perfectly normal, natural process and is not indicating anything's wrong with your tank. It is a concern, however, because it blocks gas exchange at the surface. There's no real surface there anymore. It's covered with this biofilm. So all night last night I was worried about whether I was going to wake up to a bunch of dead fish this morning. During the day I've got plants in there that are producing oxygen, but at night the plants use oxygen, and without me having any kind of real surface agitation in this tank, it doesn't matter how much water circulation I have. I actually have quite a bit of flow through the tank. I just don't have any surface agitation. So regardless of how much the water is swirling around this way, it's not exchanging gases very efficiently because it's got that scummy film across the surface. So today we are going to get in there, we're going to do a water change. We are going to clean off my Chia Pet power head back there that's got stuff all growing through it and everything, and that will increase the amount of flow we get from it. I am also going to install an air stone and put it in that back corner. I don't like the look of an air stone, but sometimes if they're necessary, they're necessary. And so we're going to go ahead and get an air stone put in this tank, and that will prevent that oily film from building up in the future. So even if that oily film was there, the air stone would still give me the proper gas exchange I needed, but the air stone will in fact disrupt that oily film and actually just do away with it. And once we get that film out of there today, we won't have to worry about seeing it anymore. And lastly, I will say that I'm going to start by doing a simple surface skim when we do the water change, and I'm going to set the camera up on the tripod and show you how easy it is to simply skim the surface with a container and remove a lot of that biofilm. So let me get that set up and I will see you at the water change. Alright, unfortunately my tripod is not tall enough to actually get over here and have a good look at it. But what I like to do is take a bucket that's got sort of a flat edge on it. You get that broad edge, you'll get a broader area where you can actually skim the surface. So you want to put the body of the bucket down in the water to create a drop so that when the water flows over the edge, it flows into the bucket. And this is a really tight squeeze. I got to kind of force it between the lid there to get this in here. But you just want to let the surface pour over the edge like that. And what you're doing, you can see some of the green scummy bubbles right there. right on in. And you can see how quickly all that green scum is developing. So by judging by all that green, this is more than simply biofilm. I've actually got a fair whack of algae growing in there and growing on the surface too. And you can see we're already starting to reduce the film enough where it's breaking up. So not real complicated, but very effective. And again, you can see how much algae is actually collecting and building up in this bucket. So 2 little scoops that were not even full scoops out of there, and I've already removed enough of that surface film that we've got it to that point now. So I'm going to do that a couple of more times, get a little more cleaned out of there, and then we're going to go ahead and finish up doing a real water change with the siphon hose, and then I'll get the power head, the air stone installed near the power head, and then we'll have a look at the tank once I'm all finished up. So look how much of that film we've now removed. This whole corner of the tank is almost completely clear already. So you can see I've got plenty of flow across the surface. I have my power head angled up and forward, but flowing across the surface is not the same as actually breaking the surface and genuine surface agitation. So that's where the airstone will come in. Alright everybody, sit tight and I will see you for the final product. And there's your after. So right now we can see one of my rubber lip plecos out, scraping the rock there. I got in with my gravel vac and I removed a ton of mulm. You can see kind of right where the tail of the rubber lip is, there looks like there's almost a cave. That is a cave, and when I put the gravel vac near that, it took several minutes for crud to just be flowing out from under there. I was wondering when it was going to finally get done. I also went through the leaves here on the front. You can see how the plants kind of boogered up a little bit there. Likewise with this one, I went in there and scrunched the gravel vac all around in there, but I removed so much mulm from this tank. It was ridiculous. I almost regret pulling the Java off of the power head. It turns out that the roots really weren't in the power head at all, and the Java had actually just attached to it and was growing on the sort of flat parts. It wasn't really interfering with the flow of the water very much. Of course it was, reducing the flow of water somewhat, but not a lot. So I don't know if I like the air bubbles right there at the power head. It's just putting a little too much in the way of bubbles in the tank for me. I was kind of hoping they would just sort of go up behind the power head and just break the surface in the corner and not become this sort of display in the back of the tank. And of course I've got bubbles swirling around everywhere. You can see my Chronocycla hiding in the back. She's not sure what's going on in the tank now with all these bubbles and everything swirling around. And you can even see bubbles starting to deposit on the plants, and that's just an annoying look for me. So I did originally, I had my choice of 4 different air pumps that I found. The one that I wanted to use was a little round air pump that I think comes with a little 1-gallon tank or something. It can't be designed for more than a 5-gallon tank. And that's what I wanted to use. All I needed was something to produce some bubbles in the corner, but I could not get it to work properly. It was humming, but it wasn't making any air move no matter what I did. So they're not really, something you can take apart. So I wound up just throwing that one away because apparently it's just not working anymore. Maybe the diaphragm in the pump is broken or something, I don't know. But I had another one that I didn't even look at. I think it's for like a 120-gallon tank. It was huge and has 2 air nozzles that come off of it. I originally got it to power more than 1 tank, so that was out of the question. And the 2 remaining pumps I had are both Whisper Tetra 40s, made for 40-gallon tanks. But it is made for a 40-gallon tank to be the sole source of driving of the filtration. If you had an under filter tank or a under gravel filter rather in the tank, or you had a sponge filter in the tank, that's what that's designed for. I've already got a power head moving the water around. I've got a canister filter for my mechanical filtration, plus a lot of additional circulation. And all I really need is something to break the surface tension. So I might order a small air pump if I can find one for cheap, you know, a few bucks, $5-10, something like that, and put one in there. I might move the air pump over to that corner, so there is no, you know, conflicting issues with the power head being in the corner. But anyway you slice it, I just feel better for having the power head in this tank especially. I've had issues in the past with that biofilm covering the surface enough that I've actually lost fish. My black ghost knifefish that was in this tank for years died during a treatment. I was medicating the tank, and I did not put an air stone in the tank, and between the medication and the biofilm on the top, it was just too much, and the oxygen levels got so low that I lost a few fish during that episode. And so this tank has always sort of concerned me about that, and now I just don't have to worry about it. So there you go. One of these days I will get in there and we will do some real rearranging of the tank, at least thinning of the plants or whatever. But for now it looks good. I did check the nitrates before we did the water change, and they were somewhere between like 20 and 30 parts per million. So again, just not much in the way of nitrates in this tank, even though the moam really builds up and piles up in this tank. And I'm really not sure why she's just hanging out in the corner back there. It's probably the air pump and the change in the tank. I got the glass all cleaned up and everything, so a lot more lights getting in the front. So I don't know. She doesn't seem happy about it, but there she is. Anyway, there you go. There's my 40 breeder. Make sure you're subscribed. Thanks for watching, and I will see you real soon in the next one. Thanks again.